Hello everyone, how you doing? And welcome back to Skye and Evan in the morning. And today, um, we are talking about two movies, which you might be confused about
Oh,
because
for
last week
sure.
we didn't say we were gonna talk about two movies, but we are now because I'm Still Here came out in theaters in America and haven't watched it. Yay!
Yep. I kind of forced your hand. We were originally planning to maybe do I'm Still Here like next week and just recommend it. I'm like, fuck it, let's just throw it in because
Yeah.
there is Oscar buzz about these films. We're staring down the barrel of very interesting Oscar season, and lots of them are being discussed.
Mm-hmm.
So
And one of these movies is good. So
yes, one of them is.
yeah. So as the Brazilian here, I must say, I'm Still Here. 10 out of 10 movie for me. Whenever we watched it, I cried the entire time. It hit me very personally. I think partly because of just. Oh yeah, and by the way, I am sorry to say this episode's going to be very political. It's a movie
It's
about
all
Brazilian dictatorship and the other about a Mexican trans woman. So like, sorry, but it is
Yeah,
what it
like
is.
forgive us if we talk about relevant political material and like
Yeah,
social issues that these films like discuss like important subject matter though.
yeah. And the thing with like I'm Still Here is that I was just thinking like, man, America's just coming close to repeating this type of bullshit, and I just
Well, it's always the same story with dictatorship. That's
yeah
the funny thing about it. There's so much like history about it. It's like they rise and fall and it's
yeah
just it repeats, you know. All it takes
yeah
is like people that are too ambitious basically.
yeah, and just like man, it's such a personal story about just like what the dictatorship took from families in Brazil. Obviously, it took like a more specific case, because it was
Well,
like a congressman that was, in his family, and obviously his son wrote the book. Marcelo wrote the
well,
book.
it was a cool detail. It was so funny. I kept forgetting that the movie was like based on a true story, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like when they cut ahead and like you saw the guy in the wheelchair and they had a book written. I'm like, oh, this actually happened. This isn't
Yeah.
like because it just seemed like interesting like writing decision to just do that at a time jump, but it's like no, this is a real thing.
Yeah. I mean,
So
yeah.
so I intentionally didn't look into like the specific history because I
Mm-hmm.
was thinking you'd probably like have a more personal edge to it. So break it down. Like the whole deal is there's like hostage negotiations. There's people being kidnapped and then they give them political prisoners. Is that what was like going on at the time or
Yeah, pretty much. There's like these militant groups that would kidnap ambassadors so that the government and the military, more specifically because it was a military dictatorship, would give political prisoners back. So it's um similar deal to what happens with Palestine and Israel with Israel Hamas. Like, um, I can't believe that's the example I'm using. Whatever. Getting very political, but yeah, Hamas kidnapping Israeli people so that they can get back the prisoners that Israel has. So it's kind of the same deal. Um, and that that
again
that happened a
commonplace
lot.
when it comes to like these kinds of conflicts,
Yeah,
like when soft stuff and basically like militias doing what they can to sway one side. So
yeah.
So were those like militias like loyal to the original? Like how did the dictatorship happen? Like when did it come about and did it stop or what's the deal
Yeah,
there?
it ended in 1988 with the first open election, as we call it. Um,
Ah,
in the first open election since was it 64? I think it was 64 when it started. So basically, we elected a president
ooh,
called Getúlio Vargas, and he did a coup with the military, so that he would stay on as long as he wanted, and the military would control Congress, and that's how the dictatorship started. And
interesting.
yeah, it kept going until 88. It's fairly recent, which is kind of wild to think. 88 is what, 20, 37 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is funny to think about all those like macro events that happened in the the 20th century where there's like you're like that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Like World War
Well, my
II,
my
realistically, it wasn't.
parents my parents were alive. Like my dad was 16 when the dictatorship ended, right? Like it's kind of insane. Like this type of shit is really recent. Like it's and for a lot like my grandma was saying about when she lived there during the dictatorship, how it was like she had very vivid memories of it. Uh like you
I'm
know,
sure moments in this movie, like when they're getting
yeah.
frisked by like the cops slash military in the
Yeah.
tunnel, like they definitely like paint a picture of what it was like there.
Yeah. Yeah, and there was
So
obviously the fucking like anti-communist thing, which is heavily influenced by America because that's usually how it goes. If there's like a dictatorship in Latin America, it was probably caused by the United States to like fuck up any
yeah,
type of leftist movement.
and the fear of like communism spreading kind of a thing,
Yeah,
and
the Red
McCarthyism.
Scare was sure a big issue in Latin
Christ.
America. Yeah. And Brazil was one of the many countries that were affected by it. Which is part of what I really like about I'm Still Here is that people from all over Latin America are saying how much they identify with this movie because their countries also suffered similar fates because of America interfering with their politics. It's like the same thing, you know. Like all of Latin America has this kind of shared history of America meddling with their politics and creating these awful dictatorships because of it.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, the film itself, we should probably get into it.
Mm-hmm.
I It's funny, I didn't know anything about like the plot of it. I really did not look anything up, and
Mm-hmm.
what I would describe it is like what happens when your family member is basically taken by the secret police and they just don't come back. Because it's such an interesting idea. She's sitting after they let her go, and she just keeps asking questions, and she genuinely doesn't know if he's dead or if he escaped, if he's being
Well, it's
used
what
as
I
a
love when she
hostage.
says later in the movie when she gets the obituary
Yeah, and
certificate,
death
where she's just
certificate.
like death certificate, yeah. That she's just like it's one of the cruelest forms of torture because you kill one person and you like sentence every other person to the torture of not knowing if they're alive.
Exactly. I love that scene. That's one of my favorite moments in the entire movie is the scene when that guy says that he thinks he was killed fighting, and that's when the doll breaks, and I love that moment when she asks like are you were you crying, and she's like no, and fixes it for her. It
Mm-hmm.
just
Well,
Fernanda Torres, she has this constant thing where she's just trying to keep it together. And seriously,
yes.
it's not like an Oscar-y performance. It's
No,
not
it
like
is so
really
understated because like
stand up.
usually the Oscars like give awards for like the most something, like the most acting, the most editing instead of
Yeah,
like the best. But her performance is so subtle. Like you can always see that she's just there's something underneath the surface that she's always like in so much pain, but she's trying not to let it show because she wants to take care of her family. I mean, it's it's the truth of about what her as like a real life mother, Eunice, because she was like she had to raise five kids on her own after her husband was killed
yeah.
and try to
And
keep it together and not like
and moved away as well, and
yeah
went
put
to
herself through
college
college.
after
Yeah,
the fact. It's
she's
impressive
amazing, by the
story.
way. Real life Eunice is fucking amazing. She's a hero and I love her.
I'm not gonna lie, that was something that was a little I wish there was more of. I wish that they'd gotten more of her after she moved, because that
Hmm.
the movie almost is kind of like wrapping up at that point. They're just
Yeah.
tying things off. I mean that's the thing, is the death certificate, but I'm like, that's an impressive story. There was something that could have been told there, but
Oh
they
yeah.
kind of wanted to keep the focus on the family and
Yeah.
that original house that they like clung to because it was their home.
Well, yeah. It's I think they just kind of like the house is a big deal of just like as a uh I guess maybe a memento of how like of what the dictatorship took from them, of just like it took their home, it took their family in a way, like the people they loved, they had just had to like leave them, and move somewhere else because they couldn't just like handle it anymore, like living there, being watched all the time. And so I think it makes sense to like have that be like the big climax, them leaving the house.
Yeah. I will say that was kind of my issue is I don't like how they wrap the film up. I feel like the ending is a little tacked on. It kind of they want to give like a last moment because what did she was it Parkinson's or like it was one
Alzheimer's.
of those like it was Alzheimer's. God, such a rough way to go. But
Yeah.
they wanted to like have a moment there focusing on kind of
Which, by
her
the
life
way,
after.
the old her is played by Fernanda Montenegro, who's a very famous Brazilian actress, and she's Fernanda Torres' mother, and she was also
Oh,
nominated for an Oscar way back when. She lost it to Gwyneth Paltrow, but whatever.
I genuinely couldn't tell. I was like, is that May? I'm like,
No,
no,
it's her
that's a
mom.
different
Yeah,
but that's so funny. Wow. That's why she
she's
looks so
a
similar and why it looks so uncanny.
yeah, she's a legendary Brazilian actress, and yeah, she's great because she doesn't have a single line, but I think she says so much with just her eyes.
Yeah, just that expression when
Yeah.
she sees it on the TV, it's really cool. But my thing, and I put this in my review on Letterboxd. It's like there's a lot of movies that are like this when they cut to black, and you're like, damn, and then it keeps going. It's like, wait, what? I like the ending of her looking back on the films, and it's so funny. I was laughing at this. Thomas Flight has a really good video about like quote unquote meta modernism. There's so many movies nowadays that are about making movies in some way, shape, or form. And like After Sun is a perfect example of that. It's like it's basically a movie about a daughter and her father, but it's mostly told through like the idea of like her recording with the camcorder and looking back on it. So there's this sense of like nostalgia and like home movies. And they have that at the beginning when they're like videoing the lot that they're going to build the house and like the beach
Well,
and
yeah,
all
it's
that. And they
because
have like,
Veroca is the character who like loves to film everything, but she's not in Brazil for most of the movie. She's in
yeah, she
London.
moves away
Yeah,
and sends her a film as well. But
yeah, she keeps sending films.
it, but it was such a unique element of the film where they kept like they showed that, and then they had really elaborate like soundtrack choices. Which, by the way, the soundtrack in this movie slaps.
Yes, it does,
It's kind of
and
diminished a little later on, but yeah.
it's there is a lot you can say about the way the soundtrack of the movie is used based on like this music that was allowed at the time because big part of the Brazilian dictatorship was the censorship of well art in general but music even I mean they even mentioned you may have noticed like two exiled Brazilian artists that she meets one of them in London.
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, they were exiled because they kept making music that was anti-dictatorship, and obviously they couldn't just kill them because they were like too big public figures that were like too big, and so they had to exile them. And so yeah, that happened a lot. And a lot of the music that plays, for
Interesting.
example, is like from Roberto Carlos, who was someone who at the time kind of refused to make music that was against the dictatorship, and he even made a song afterwards like basically apologizing for it, being like that he didn't stand up for himself. And that's why like a lot of his music plays because it's the music that was allowed at the time because he wasn't censored because he was like willing to criticize the dictatorship. There's a lot. The way they use music is genius. I really
Well, I
think
mean,
that.
I swear, even just the lyrics at the end credits
Yeah.
song, like "You got to find a way," my friend. Like, I like that, and I want to check out more of like how the lyrics connect because
Hmm.
they're seem like they did interesting stuff there.
Yeah.
And at any rate, it just sounds awesome. So
Yeah, a lot of the music at the time is amazing. It's one thing that I loved as well when the first time they get to their house, the military, and they're like just walking around investigating stuff. One of them just grabs the vinyls, and the first one is Caetano Veloso, who was like one of these people that were exiled from Brazil because of their anti-dictatorship music, and so it's just and he just like says, "Hmm." I was like, "Oh, that's a nice detail."
oh, that's what that moment. I was wondering about that. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
That's funny. Just reacting to like a musician who was exiled. Wow.
yeah. It's like, they have his music. Okay, I mean, that's why there's a lot of little details like that. Like there's the guy that was like sleeping while she went through her husband's office. She was like, "Oh, everything's like fucked up," and she's just like going through his office to like clean it up because she's like mad that they fucked up his entire office to search for whatever bullshit they were trying to find. And then they
Yeah, she
show
looked
another
really
shot of his
distressed.
eyes open, and the next day he's the one who leads her to be imprisoned and interrogated too. Reason being, obviously, that he thinks that she was hiding something in the room, but she was actually just upset that that they fucked up with her husband's
Well, it's so funny. They had that scene
office.
early on with her and her husband where she was talking about like wanting to scrapbook and that everything was out of order, and then they just fucked it up more. So he's like,
Yeah, that is why it's so heartbreaking as well, because she's just like, man, I need to put everything in order, or otherwise I'm gonna like forget when all of this was, and then like they just destroy everything. Everything was out of place. That was heartbreaking. That was one of the moments I was
God,
crying.
God, paranoia is such a killer. It destroys people.
Yeah.
Back to the filmmaking though, like with the ending,
Mm-hmm.
I liked that was a detail that was consistent in the movie where there were like films that were being made by her, and then she
Mm-hmm.
sent the film back, and then there's this nostalgic moment where she like rewatches the tapes, and it like I felt like that was a better end note for the movie. Again, I get that her story, there's still a little bit more, but it connects a little better to her family, if you ask me. And I mean, the picture was the one thing with the ending that I did think was pretty cool.
I
Like
was gonna say that like
because a huge
that
theme
picture
is
and like a big like they made a big deal before as well about like when they were gonna take a picture and they asked them to be sad and she was like, no, we're gonna be happy. And like just having that final picture where everyone's smiling, I think is like very important for like the point of the movie of like the dictatorship takes so much away from people, but like they're gonna keep on living as like an act of resistance, and I think that is like a beautiful way to end the film.
yeah. It's could be just one of those things where I think the other one is like a bit more like a quote unquote cinematic ending. It's a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of a I don't know, got a bit more flair, but the actual ending proper is kind of like more somber and little better to kind of wrap up her story in
Mm-hmm.
full and yeah.
Yeah, and I
I,
think it's important to show like even so many years later, like they're talking about her husband and like how big of an impact he had on just like the resistance, kind of using him as an icon, uh, because you know of what he represented when he was killed. Like I think it is very important to her as a character to like see that.
mhm. I hold on. This is an interesting movie, or you ever watch a movie and you just you walk away from it and you're like, yeah, that was really good. That was
Mm-hmm.
really well made. But it just doesn't really like blow you away. It doesn't like sweep you off your feet. It's just like a plain good movie for lack
Mm-hmm.
of a better way of putting it. Like, have you heard of the movie Argentina 1985?
Yes, I've heard of it. I've not watched it, but I've heard
It,
of it.
it's actually a pretty good movie. It's pretty funny and interesting. This movie reminded me a lot of that. It was like it's a movie that is like directly telling like the story of like a historical event or like a historical time period that was
Mm-hmm.
important in like a particular culture, and it just kind of captures that well and tells an interesting story and is well made, but it I don't know. I don't know what it is about this movie that just didn't quite reach peak for me because it's a very subtle movie and a very
Yeah.
somber movie, which is a merit, of
Yeah.
course. But
I think it's the kind of thing because like when I first watched it, I thought, man, that was really good. Um, but I didn't get what all the
and
fuss was about. I rewatched it yesterday. I literally was crying the entire movie, like
yeah,
just like seeing
I did
like
not have
because
that reaction, Skye.
yeah, it's because like it's even like the little things because like you know what's gonna happen when you're rewatching it. You know that he's gonna get taken away and die, and you're just thinking like him being such a good father, like fucking the little things, like when he buries like her his daughter's tooth, and then he just digs it up right after. It's like such adorable. It's like, oh, that's how he's gonna like find it to give it to her, and it's just like this cute little thing. And it's just like,
And
man,
she
that's
finds the
nice.
tooth later and gives it back to her before they move. That
Yeah,
was such a small thing, but awesome. Yeah, I
yeah,
love that.
exactly. So it's like you're just like, oh man, like they took away someone who was this nice, who was just like a dad who wasn't like doing anything wrong. I mean, they think it's wrong because it's just like telling families like, hey, your loved ones are actually dead. Like that was like what the letters he was distributing were saying. So it's just this like the small things in the beginning of the movie that I just kept thinking, man, like they really did this. This family had to live with that, or like the right as he's being taken, I'm just like, man, that's like the last thing his son is ever gonna say to him, you know? Like that's
Yeah.
fucking
Well, and that's
depressing.
his line. I'll be home for the souffle, and it's
Yeah,
like, God damn it. And I swear, like as soon as he got in the car, I'm like, that's it, man. Fuck. It's just, yeah.
yeah. So it's just like the entire time it was just like it's because it's such a tragic story. But when I was first watching it, I was like, I wonder what the point is about. When it like once you know what the point is of the movie, when you rewatch it, you kind of see it like in a different lens. At least the way I did, of just like the tragedy of the situation instead of just being like exploring like the actual like politics of the time or anything like that. Like it's not really about the politics, about the dictatorship,
No.
as in like exploring that and the factions and everything. It's just like how it impacted a regular family.
Yeah, it's all about them, and it's just the political situation is basically like the
Yeah,
setting and just what pushes the plot forward, but the whole story is about the family and the
yeah,
mother trying to keep it together.
yeah. And I kind
I
of love these stories that are just like about some like parent or someone like keeping
la-
it together while like the entire situation is kind of fucked up. It's kind of a part of why I love like Joel from The Last of Us, like just this
well,
one
like
guy
I
trying to
said,
save someone they love.
it reminded me a lot of After Sun, where it's
Hmm.
kind of just a story about like family members just trying to get on, and the issues, just basic issues that everyone runs into. They explore those isms in this, like even just something like a family member moving away, like going to a different country and not being there. There's a lot you can draw on because it really is a normal family just in a difficult situation.
Yeah, and Eunice is
Uh,
a hero. She managed to raise her 5 kids, go back to college, become a fucking amazing advocate for indigenous people's rights. Like fuck yeah, she's awesome.
yeah, I want to read more into her. She
Yeah.
seems amazing. So,
Yeah, the book this
uh,
is based on was obviously written by Marcelo, who's the youngest of the children. He's a fairly famous writer.
you
The first book where the woman asked for an autograph is called Feliz
yeah,
Ano Velho, Happy Old Year, which is an autobiography where he talks about his accident and everything. And then he wrote a
I'm a
book
little
about
curious
like
because
his dad and everything, surviving the time as well, because it's like it's from his perspective, which is why the movie's like so different, because the movie's about the mom and the book is more about him. Like it's different.
I was curious about that because it's funny. He was asking about the pages, and I'm like, it looks pretty short. I'm like, wonder if there's an English translation. So
Yeah,
I I loved it. Seriously, I don't want to like act like it was. I think it's just bland or something. And you were saying it with rewatching. I'm always an advocate for that, for like
yeah,
not coming up with your like final opinion unless you've watched it at least twice. I think you should always give a movie like a fair shake and maybe see it like one more time because you can always get something different out of it on retrospect. It's a different experience rewatching a movie than just experiencing it once. So
yeah.
uh,
Especially like if you go in blind, because like there's certain movies like After Sun is one. I don't actually think you should go in blind when you're watching After Sun, and I don't think you should go in blind necessarily
oh
watching this
really?
movie. Oh yeah.
With why with After Sun? If I
Well, Because, for example, when I watched it, I didn't know that the framing device was that it was the girl years later, like watching videos of her dad and like piecing together the
Yeah.
moments that she didn't record and trying to understand why her dad would have done that. I don't want to spoil the movie for the people who haven't seen it. But
Yeah,
like,
really interesting retrospect. I'll tell you that
yeah.
much. But
Yeah, because like once that
I
clicked, I
wouldn't
was like, oh,
necessarily
okay, this is a
spoil it.
really much more interesting movie once that hit, I guess, and once I understood that. But if I'd known it the whole time, I probably would have seen it with different eyes. After Sun is like, it's funny because you mentioned like a movie that is like really good, solid, but it doesn't quite vibe with you. That was me with After Sun, and I have a friend who's very
Yeah.
annoyed that I didn't like love the movie, even though I think it's
Well,
amazing. It didn't vibe with me.
it was similar for me, and I like there are people that like put that in like the top 10 of like the last decade. I'm like, I don't know about that, but it's like people,
It is
the whole
really
video
good,
essay
so I kind
syndrome.
of get it, but
Yeah.
it's hard because there are people that have more personal experiences with depression, and obviously, I mean, I have depression, so maybe
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
That
mean,
was
low
a weird
key,
movie.
low key, the scene where he goes to the beach. I see. I don't want to spoil it. Yeah,
Yeah,
watch After Sun. Watch
yeah, it is a good
fucking.
movie.
I'm still
I'm
here,
still here. Yes,
and give that actress best actress, man. It would be
yes,
I
yes, yes.
I
I honestly think
another
she
thing.
really deserves it. Like I know I'm completely biased because I'm Brazilian, but after rewatching it yesterday, I'm like, man, I've not seen every one of the nominated. Who are the nominees for best actress?
Well, the one of them is Demi Moore, and like she
Demi
won the
Moore is
Golden Globe, so I.
really good, but I do not think she deserves it over Fernanda Torres.
No, honestly, it like low key. I almost feel like Margaret Qualley gives. I mean, they're both really good in the substance, but
Yeah,
the other thing is, it's almost a miracle that she got nominated at all because the Academy is like fucking biased against horror movies. They
yeah,
never recognize horror movie performances. So
yeah. So the
I don't know.
nominees
She got the Golden
are
Globe.
Cynthia Erivo for Wicked. I have not seen that. Can't speak on
Me
it. I
neither, and
doubt she's that good, but whatever. Carlos
I
Sofia
like her in the
Gascon
roles.
for Emilia Pérez, which is funny because I thought she was awful,
I'm
but
sure
we'll
she'll
get to
be
that.
walking the red carpet.
Oh yeah, I'm sure she will. Yes. Mikey Madison for Honora. I've not seen that yet, but my parents say it's amazing. So
I need to see that. Everyone has been talking, but the funny thing is, people love it, and it got like Cannes recognition, but like it's been winning no awards.
yeah,
Nothing. And I've heard it's amazing. I've heard it's just a really solid movie, but
yeah.
it's not been doing well for award season.
Yeah, and then Demi Moore and Fernanda Torres. I think the Fernanda Torres deserves to win it. I need to at least watch Honora before I have an opinion.
Yeah.
I also need to watch Wicked, but like, it's Wicked. I doubt she deserves it.
I'm sure that it's not going to be like an Oscar-winning
Yeah.
performance.
I
I'm
mean,
sure it's going
they
to be pretty
nominated
good.
Ariana Grande for supporting actress, and it's just like, I'm sorry, I no.
Yeah, Wicked drew a lot of people in. A lot of people liked it, but like, come on, Oscar. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Um,
Um,
but yeah, Fernanda
I
Torres is really good. I really hope she wins it.
well, the thing that I was laughing at, and I talked about this before, but I wish that more like performances that are not in the English language were recognized because I was looking up the winners, and a lot of them were like Christoph Waltz, like shit, were like people for a large chunk of the movie they speak a different language, but then they'll also have long stretches of English, and I'm like,
Hmm.
that's not really what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking like full out native language, non-English, like watch with subtitles.
Hmm.
Like that kind of Oscar is rare, and I don't know why, because you should be able to recognize performance regardless of language, and it'd be so cool if she
Yeah,
won,
I
and
think language
it's
sometimes can be
home for that.
important because and this is gonna be a
Oh,
little spoiler when we get it to Emilia Perez. But for example, Selena Gomez in that movie does not speak very good Spanish, and me understanding Spanish a little, I was able to identify that. And if you don't, you're like, she's fine, you know, there's no problem. But when you do, you realize, man, she does not know Spanish. And so sometimes it can be useful.
Yeah, language is important. I'm sure nothing replaces knowing the language of the
Yeah.
film and being able to appreciate it. So,
Well, yeah, it's
I
part of the issue of the Oscars just being like an American thing, where like the
yeah.
Academy members are really like from all over the world. They're all from Hollywood, so it's not gonna be like the
Well,
thing where they can actually identify these things like from their own culture. It's all gonna be like foreign to them, which is why it's so funny
well,
when
and
they
this
sometimes can do like British movies as like foreign movies. Like, okay, if you say
exactly
so, man.
that like I always laughed at that in 2019. It's like best foreign film, and it's like Parasite was the winner. Of like technically 1917 is a foreign film. It was made in the UK. Of like I well, if they speak English, it's like
Yeah,
It's like,
that's what they
God
get.
damn
It's like,
it.
oh, that's when they changed the name, right, to like foreign language or
Well,
international
that's what
film,
it
right? International
well,
film.
that's what it fucking should be. It should be best film with subtitles because that's basically what
Well,
it
yeah,
is.
but if you call it that, then everyone's gonna realize how stupid of a category that is. It's just literally like
And
a participation trophy for these movies because they're like, we don't consider you good enough to actually compete with our movies, our American English speaking movies. So we're gonna give you your own category. It's the same thing for like animated feature. Like, oh, why do you have a
yeah,
best animated feature instead of just nominating the best animated features for best picture? The Oscars are bullshit.
which happens, but yeah, and we all know that like Stanley Kubrick never won Best Director, and 2001: A Space Odyssey didn't win Best Picture. Like the the movies that count and the movies that are remembered regardless of the Academy.
Yeah.
The Academy is just like some celebration, quote unquote. It's the people celebrating like the filmmaking by the filmmakers, but realistically, it's like the executives that are running the show. So it's just
Yeah.
oh, the Oscars. Um, but seriously, it'd be really cool if she won, and
Yeah.
I think she might.
I think she has a
I
good chance. I was worried they were gonna give it to Carla Sofia Gascon because she's trans, and obviously with the way things are going in
well,
America, trans rights are being taken away by the daily. So I thought like the Oscars liking to be political
well,
and make a statement might give it to her, but considering everything around her, I
well,
doubt that would happen now.
well, we might want to transition to
Yeah,
Emilia Perez with
yeah,
the discussion of the Oscars because I mean,
yeah. Okay, yeah,
huge huge recommendation for
yeah,
I'm Still Here. You should watch it. Good movie, really
yeah.
solid.
You should watch it
Uh,
twice. That's my take.
yeah.
But yeah,
Uh,
I recommend it too. And now we're gonna get to part two of this discussion. Unfortunately, we're we're gonna talk about Emilia Perez. Uh, Evan, what did you think of it?
I I I did not like it.
Mm,
I it is the funniest thing in the world. I put this in my review on Letterboxd, but I compared this to Joker Folie à Deux because I think it's an apt comparison, and I find it so ironic that the first Joker got like a bunch of Oscar attention, and obviously Folie à Deux got nothing. But I'm like, this movie is so similar. Musical numbers that like replace the use of dialogue, and it results in like such thin characters because everyone's singing and the songs aren't good, and it's just a mess and a nightmare of plotting and a nightmare of presentation. So I
yeah, I I don't. Have you read my letterbox review?
not yet.
Okay, so
Oh my
my
god.
review is, I was just I first I wrote it. It's just like it's a collection of things happening because it that's what the movie is. It's like a bunch of scenes that don't really connect or have any causation from one scene to the next, and it's just like, oh, I guess that happened. Why not? It's which is the same exact vibe I got when I watched About Time, which is a movie I've made a video about, and it's one of the worst
Oh.
movies I've seen ever.
I haven't seen that yet. I've heard pretty much that though. Like everyone is like, yeah, it's a stupid movie, badly presented, and Justin Timberlake. Oh my god.
Justin Timberlake? What?
Wait, about
About Time. It's
in time?
About
Oh,
Time.
about. Hold on a second.
About Time is a movie that's actually fairly well regarded. I just think it's garbage. I'm against the grain on that one, I'm afraid.
Oh wait, 2013.
Yeah, it's the.
You think this is one of the worst movies?
I think it's
you've
one of the
ever
worst
seen?
movies I've ever seen. After we're done recording this, I'm going to show you my
Wow.
video on it, Evan.
Fascinating. I have never heard of that. That is an interesting film to burn at the stake.
Oh yeah. Well, it is
I was
also a movie that kind of like uh, justifies rape in a sense, so that's part of why.
oh.
Yeah, it uses time travel to do something I would say analogous to rape. Not a discussion for today. Whatever.
Jesus.
That's
Yeah,
my
okay.
comparison. Very bad movie like this. But then I came in, I edited my review, and I said, experience watching this movie. Emilia, I'm going to do this. Rita, no, you shouldn't. Emilia, singing.
What?
Yes, I should. Rita, singing. No, you shouldn't. Emilia singing. Yes, I should. Rita singing. Yes, you should. And that is the movie, because that's what it is. Most of the music scenes are just like, I'm gonna do that. No, you shouldn't. Yes, I should. Then you should. And it's that. Like, there's nothing. There's nothing. Like,
Well,
I laughed so much at the stupid scene, where they just meet again 4 years later, and she's like, did you come here by chance? No, I didn't come here by chance. Don't tell me you came here by chance. It's like 2 minutes of just saying, no, I didn't come here by chance. Don't tell me you came here by chance. No, I didn't. And then she's like, finally, oh, actually, I need your help. Like, in normal dialogue. Instead of doing it in a song, the entire song is just 2 minutes of back and forth, like, did you come here by chance?
yeah.
No.
Well, this is the other thing that I've like laughed at with my review. I'm like, the music in Joker Folie à Deux, like some of it is really good.
Yeah.
Like you're being unfair. It's like it was all stupid. This should have just like no. Listen to like If My Friends Could See Me Now. That's a good musical number. So is the Joker. So is For Once in My Life. Like the some of the songs at the very least are like interesting to listen to. That cannot be said for this movie.
Oh, yeah, there's
None
not a
of the
single good
songs
song.
are no. And so regarding the plotting, this is what I jumped back to. I've got the movie up now.
Mhm.
What you were saying things just happen in this movie, and you're so right. But like a perfect example of that is the widow that shows up and is like happy that her husband was killed, and then
And then
that
she becomes
like
Emilia's
turns
lover.
into yeah, and it's the only real thing that connects them other than just the dialogue is for one, she's like seems unhinged and implies she would like off her husband. And then it's like, did you really bring a knife? She's like, I brought a knife. It's like, I have a gun. It's like,
And then, like, I guess Emilia was horny for her, and so they got together. Whatever. And we don't
yeah.
show them getting together. She just starts singing a song about how in love she is. Like, I don't
After
know
the
why.
fact- yes.
I don't know why she cares about her. We just skipped the entire relationship part. This is what I mean of like stuff happening, because like if you're like, let's introduce a new plot element. It's this character. Okay, we're gonna see how they fall in love, why they like each other. No, we just skip that. It's like that happened already. Like it's just okay. Then she falls in love. That's what's written in the script. That's what it feels like.
And that's the thing with the music. The music is like a substitute for any development. And this is the problem with Joker Folie à Deux. It's so ironic how apt the comparison is. But like Lee is a really hard character to get a reading on because she sings more than she talks. Like
Yeah.
and this movie is exactly like that. There's so much singing. There's so much flashy cinematography and presentation, but there's so little character. And
I
Emilia
mean,
is the
yeah, I
perfect
don't
example
know
of that,
anything
like,
about
there's
any of the characters, honestly. Because, like, I think Rita was probably the one that annoyed me the most. Because I was just like, why are you
yeah,
doing any of what you're doing? Because, like, she was portrayed in the beginning of the movie as, like, a mercenary, like, doing anything for money just so she can have, like, a better life. Because she was
well,
working a
well,
shitty job just so she could,
yeah,
like,
but
have a job.
It did seem though that she was kind of like an idealist. I got like a little bit of a like, down on their luck lawyer, like looking for an opportunity. It's handled with like
Well,
no subtlety.
I
It's like,
didn't
look at the
think
man
she
taking the
was like that
thunder.
because she took the job straight away from Emilia, because Emilia was like, because at the time Emilia was a mob boss, a cartel boss. And she was just like,
Well,
"Hey, I'm gonna offer you a job, and you're gonna be rich." And she doesn't even explain to Rita
well,
what the job is. So it's just like, oh, so Rita is just okay with doing something completely immoral for a cartel boss just for money. So clearly she doesn't like have any strong morals. That's the impression
well,
I got of her.
well, the only thing they have to try to connect to that is the song. Is like she sings about like getting the phone call and like what that means, but it's like a moment where she considers that maybe she's gonna like throw the phone away, or maybe she's walking away and then like she sees the newsstand. Like this is and good musicals understand this too. Good musicals understand when music is appropriate. Like if there's like one rule that you could say about like musicals, it's just make the musicals, like the actual song and dance sequences, happen after something important in the story's gone down. That's usually how it's done. Like a scene has happened, maybe a character's like gain more confidence, and then they start singing. Like my brother put it perfectly. Like when do you want a character to sing in a movie? Like when they can't talk, when they're like so excited or like so invested in something that they have to sing.
Hmm.
It's like it's not like that in this movie, though, or in Joker Folie à Deux. People just sing whenever, and there's more singing than there is character development. It's just uh, the
Yeah.
biggest
Well,
problem for me. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you got like a fucking list, but
yeah.
it was Emilia's kids and her wife. They she seems so chill, just letting them think she's dead, but then she like goes back and she like wants to be like their aunt, but it's confusing why. And it's confusing like was she just 100% fine letting them think that she was dead? And it's like I don't know. I don't know how she felt about any of that. I don't know how she felt about like throwing her old life away. It's hard to tell because she doesn't
Well,
really
she
confide in
mentioned that she
people.
was gonna leave a lot away and that it was hard, but she knew that she wanted to do it because being a woman mattered more to her. Um,
But
which again
even
is just
that,
explored
it's
so shittily. Ah,
yeah, I mean, they don't I can only say they don't talk so many fucking times, but seriously, like th this
well,
kind of thing isn't really developed, it's just said, and again,
there's
with the
a
whole things just happening.
review on Letterboxd that I thought was amazing. I just took a screenshot because I wanted to read it. And I think this is the appropriate moment. But here it goes from
Oh
Logan
my.
Canny. Uh, it says, "You learn nothing about Emilia's relationship to womanhood outside of a minute of admiring herself post-surgery. You learn nothing about Emilia's sentience or of years of existing as a woman because her existence only matters in terms of her life pre-transition. She's never given a moment of real interiority or direction or purpose
Yeah.
beyond her relationship with her pre-transition self. She fucking gets burnt
Well,
alive
to
after getting dead named
pause.
and mischieved." Sorry.
Sorry, just to pause on that, like you're that's 100% right, and
Yeah.
the example of that is the whole like nonprofit deal. Like
Why does she
she
do
does
that?
that,
I guess
but
she.
yeah, it's hard to get why. Does she want to like be an idealist? Like she just wants to. Is she trying to redeem herself from what she's done in the past? Like
Yeah. Well, that's
I
part
don't
of
know.
what it was with Rita as well. Because I was like, why does Rita care to be a part of this? Like, she already got her money, and now that she got the family back together, she's not under threat that Emilia is gonna like kill her or anything. So just go back to London. It's like I guess she wants to help. She's like an idealist, but like that's not Rita. Like, and it's weird as well because like
Yeah.
the leading role like fucking was given to Carlos Sofia Gascon when like I would say Rita has like more screen time or is like a main character more than
Yeah.
Emilia, but it's
Well,
weird.
and there are movies that pull that off, like The Shawshank Redemption. Like Red is almost fills more of the main character role, even though Andy is basically the main
Hmm.
character. It's kind of like You can have movies where like one character sees him. The Sandlot is another great example of that, where like Benny is almost like the prominent character, but there's another character that observes that. We'll get to the Sandlot someday. Have you seen that?
Nope, I have not.
Oh, we're gonna get there one day.
Hmm.
Finish the rest of that comment.
Oh yeah. So okay. She fucking gets burnt alive after getting dead named and misgendered in the emotional climax of the movie, alongside her wife, who's also set ablaze, before a memorializing song with the lyrics, "To she who will never come back, to she who kept her secret." Saldanha's character gets the children she wants, culminating an arc that started with Emilia saying she'd buy whatever father she wanted, which in turn perpetuates the nature of Emilia as not a woman, but a man pretending. And yeah, that's what I wanted to say, because I think that encapsulates perfectly the way this movie just does not see Emilia as a woman, and her entire character is based on her pre-transition self, and how that that's the entire like framing of the movie. It's like everything she did before she transitioned is like the framing, and nothing about her post-transition actually matters. There's not like a character to her. Everything is just matters because she used to be a cartel boss, and like there's nothing new about her.
Well, honestly, just the most basic change that could make that like that could improve the story, if you ask me, is if she defined herself by what she was doing, but what drew her back to her old self was her family.
Mm-hmm.
She just couldn't let her family go, which that's why that was my biggest issue with the movie. It's so hard to get a reading on how she feels about her kids and if she's okay with like leaving them, but that should have been the heart and soul of the movie, that she like as much as she wanted to leave that life behind, and how she wants to start over and define herself, like it's that piece of her old self that she can't let go. But instead, low key, it's almost as if she's still involved in like the cartel.
Well, it's
Like,
what's weird, right? Because like she says, like, "Oh, we need to do this somewhere untraceable," and then she's like gonna live somewhere else, and then she does the surgery in Tel Aviv. So I thought, oh, she's just gonna live in Israel now, but she just comes back to live in Mexico, and she like still running business with all that money. It's so weird. I don't know why. Like I thought the entire point was that she needed to leave all that life behind.
Well, what's so hard to tell is it's like, was this an attempt to like just fake your death and just try to create a different identity? And again, this is the thing about the transition thing that's so apt with that comment, the whole like pretending, not being seen as like an actual transition, and it being it's so weird because there's so little character to cling to for defining Emilia as a character.
Yeah.
So like the best you go for is lyrics from the songs, and the lyrics from the songs are fucking transphobic, like straight up.
I mean, the fucking the God's Door song with the fucking. I mean, there's obviously like the one where she's like penis to vagina, but
yes.
Oh yeah, I hate that song so much. I don't understand what was happening there.
Cringed so that I can't believe that was a real scene.
Yeah, it was. I don't get it. It was just like, oh, do you want to learn about surgery? Yes. And they were just like naming all the types of surgery that trans people may want to have or not. I don't understand what was happening in that scene. I was extremely confused. Why?
And the choreography and everyone in the beds. And of course, it's always that fucking thing with the scalpel. I always love that from transphobes when they'll like emphasize like the cutting and the search. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, why is that so important to you?
Yeah, and it was just like a room with like tens of like trans people getting like surgeries, as if like that's how it happens. Like you just get a bunch of trans people in one room and then you just start cutting off parts. It was so weird. I don't understand.
Deeply uncomfortable presentation, and just the perfect example of a scene where I'm like, maybe let's just not musical. Like maybe let's just not hear, just like,
yeah.
I'm even in favor of when the surgeon, the dialogue has issues, but that like brief little like when they're just singing, I'm like, okay, this is all right, but like the scene before, awful. I
And the way the doctor talks about the surgery as well is just like extremely transphobic. Like woman to
yeah.
man,
Wait,
man to woman. It's like that's not the terms that
the
actual
soul.
gender affirming fucking doctors use. Oh, I'm not even
Yeah,
talking about the Tel Aviv one, because the Tel Aviv doctor was like insane. She was just like, oh, my door is not God's door. I can't transition your soul. Like, what are you talking about? I'm just asking you to do
yeah.
the surgery. Are you gonna do it or not?
It's
Like,
like this is your job,
yeah, like what are you
motherfucker. Like, what are you
talking about?
talking?
Like she's already transitioned. She's already been in hormones for 2 years, and they keep in that scene calling her him all the time, like Mr. Mystery and he. I want to meet him. I was like, why are you talking like that? And I have firsthand experience. The moment I met my endocrinologist and I said, hey, I want to start hormones because I'm a trans woman, she started calling me by the correct pronouns and names, even though I still look like a man. Like these doctors that work on gender affirming care, they will always use their preferred pronouns if they're like good at their jobs and not just like a GP. But like, no,
Like,
for
why
that
would
one
you
doctor who's
go?
just like calling like him Mr. Mystery, and they just be like, oh, it won't fix his soul. What are you talking about? Just do the surgery, man.
It's I would imagine most people in that field would I be passionate about it, all things
Yeah.
considered. I mean, like, why else would you enter it if you hated people that were trans?
I don't know. I
I
don't know. I don't understand that scene. It was just like, oh, I'm not gonna do the surgery, and she was like, you are gonna do the surgery, and I was like, I'm not gonna do the surgery, and she was like, you are, and he was like, okay, I will. That's what I mentioned with my fucking review. It's just like, what was the point? You're
well,
just like, oh, I won't fix your soul, and then she was like, nah, but it's good though, and she was like, yeah, why not?
well, on it, if I could put this movie in a word, it would be random.
Yeah,
It it just moves so randomly, and the
things
plot
just
changes
happen.
on a dime,
Well,
and
it's what I think I
you're
mentioned
just
it to you. Like every 15 minutes, it seems like the movie's starting. Like it feels like there's a new plot. It's just like, okay, I guess the movie's about this now. Like I guess now it's about Emilia falling in love with this woman. Oh, I guess it's about her opening an NGO. I guess. I don't
but
know.
none of it has any staying power because they don't stick to any one
Well,
plot
yeah,
line.
the
Like I
movie's
said,
not about anything. Cause like it keeps moving. You're like, I don't know what like the main plot was. Things just kind of happen. I guess the main plot would be like her children, maybe. I don't know.
again, that's my biggest issue in the movie because that had the most potential. That
Yeah.
was an idea that I'm like, okay, this could tell you a lot about Emilia as a character, and it
Well,
it
the thing is as well, like when they first meet, the children will first meet Amelia, you're like, okay, they're feeling kind of distant. It's their aunt, and she wants to be their mother, but she can't really because she has to hide the fact that she's actually, she used to be their father. Like that's interesting. But then we just skip that, and like later on, she's just like super fine with the kids, and the kids love her. So it's like we kind of skip the entire like interesting
yeah,
part of the story, which is what happens with every
and
plot
she
point in this movie. We just skip the interesting
well,
parts.
and she never has to tell them. There's never any moment of realization, and
Yeah, you know
I
what?
was
What one thing
stunned.
that I liked? It actually just reminded me. It's like one of the last lines in the movie is Rita saying like, "Your mother was in a car accident. She's not coming home." I was like, "Hey, that actually talks about both mothers in that. Like, that's nice." Like
Mhm.
I thought that was like one detail. I was like, "Hey, that's actually kind of subtle. I like that." So props for that
Well,
movie.
oh my god, I have to. I was stunned at the ending because, like, okay, for, first of all, it was so fucking funny. The fingers, like, that happens in so many movies. Like, people like cut off
Cut off
fingers, and
fingers.
you
Yeah.
realize it's bullshit. And then I'm like, they actually, and then they just show it, like, no, they actually did. I'm like, what? Uh, Oh,
Yeah. I guess
I'm
they
like,
just cut
but
off her fingers.
I guess off screen too. I'm like, that would have been a nice thing to show that like fucking happening, so there was a little bit more of a tangible impact, you know? And then
Yeah.
like, oh god,
But
what's
it, but
always
it
so
also
fucking
just
fun
like
again in
doesn't
the
really
movie?
help to like make Yessie like
Sweet.
a character, right? To like have her
No.
actually hurt this woman. Like she didn't do that much wrong to you. Like she doesn't deserve to be hurt like this. Like the stakes with these people
Yes,
aren't as
Selena.
high as like fucking they were in the beginning when they were like drug lords. Now she was just housing you. Like like you can get this money back by just talking to Rita. You don't need to like cut her fingers off. It's like such an
Well,
escalation that doesn't really track with Jesse's character.
it doesn't. And then after that, then Rita gets together like a mercenary crew, and they suck so bad that they're spotted immediately.
I thought that
They
was
just
like the
shoot the place
plan.
up. And
I thought that was the
what?
plan because like
I
I
thought
could
they
I
were
didn't
sneaking in
I
though. Like
I
they
think
seem to try to.
I think it was just like she was stalling until they saw them and then they would start shooting. I thought that was the plan. But they barely showed that anyway because then they focus on Emilia singing with Jesse, so
Yeah. Well,
which
I
is
just
another
imagined their
reason.
plan wouldn't be to shoot the place up because Amelia's in there.
Well, yeah, that is a good point, but I don't know.
One way or another, it's just a shoot 'em up, and then exactly that, like the a song where Amelia tells her wife that or like whatever you want to call that, she tells her the truth, and then the car just fucking crashes and explodes, and I was like, what?
Oh yeah, they
That's
just
it?
burn
It's just
alive.
dead. It
Yeah.
just the movie just stops. It's just over. And then exactly that, like some memorial supposed to like what
Yeah, led by her
what
girlfriends. Uh,
why this? Why is she so good and so important? Like it was her non-charity thing or whatever. Like it's like why though? Why? What in the movie made that important? What in the movie illustrated that like she was
Well,
someone that was like
that's
well
part of the
beloved by
thing
the
because this
community? It
movie,
just
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. This movie doesn't do any work to show that the community actually likes her because the movie is so adverse to actually characterizing Mexico City because the the writer and director of the movie refused to study anything about Mexico. He was just like, sure, I don't need to look into it. And it's just like it doesn't understand the culture of like how someone could actually be loved. Fucking the Penguin does it better than this. It's so
well,
stupid.
I if there's again like I called it random. If there's another thing that could be said, it's just like the filmmaker making a film about things that they clearly do not understand.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
just
yeah, it's clearly a cis white filmmaker making a movie about Mexico that he doesn't understand at all, and about the trans people who doesn't understand at all either. So
it's so ironic too because it's just like it seems like almost like an elevator pitch movie because I not gonna lie, the on paper it's an interesting idea, like a drug lord transitioning and seeing like the pre and post transition and like what that is. And like I said, the whole deal with the kids and the wife that has legs. That's an idea like
yeah,
with potential, but not much of this movie trades in good ideas.
yeah, it
This
is.
is this is
It is a
go ahead.
baffling movie because like I had phases watching this movie, you know, because like I was messaging you when I was watching it last night, and the first like 30 minutes or no, the first 15 minutes it was funny bad. I was just like I don't understand why this is a song at all. I don't understand why like we're doing the things we're doing. The way it's characterizing Rita's like really weird. Like the song where she's just like, "Well, I have nothing to lose, so I may as well." And it's just like that's a song, I guess. Like, because like musicals always have that scene where it's just like a character being like, looking up and like there's fucking fuck, I forgot the name of the song, but in La La Land where she sings about like meeting someone, uh, who could change who could change her life. Fuck, I forgot the name of the
Oh,
song.
someone in the crowd.
Yeah, someone in the crowd. Like, you know, like that song is just like looking up, like learning what they want to do. And that was supposed to be that for her, but it was just like, "Hey, come meet me at the newsstand." Like no more context to any of it.
Well,
And then when she meets her, it's like there's no she's just like, "Oh, you're going to take this job. I'm a drug cartel boss. If you take it, you're going to be rich." She doesn't like even question herself whether she should do it or learn anything about why. Like her character is just like so bleh. And then after we get to that, the moment where Emilia says like, "Oh, I want to become a woman," that's when it came from hilariously bad to bafflingly bad, where I was just like watching astonished at what I was watching, and that lasted until like the scene in Tel Aviv with the doctor.
yeah,
And then after
that
that, it just became boring bad, where it's just like what is the second act? and then the third act became bafflingly bad
Well,
again.
well, honestly, what I was blown away by is that I actually wasn't bored because I just kept looking at the runtime like, oh my God, we're like 40 minutes in. I'm like, what? And then you like look back, you're like, barely anything happened though.
Yeah.
Like the movie just moves fast, but there's little to cling
Well,
to. So it's
yeah,
just,
that's why I stopped watching the movie an hour in, and I went to sleep, and I finished watching this morning because I was just so bored. It was like, there's nothing that this movie's doing. Like, it's just a collection of like random stuff happening. Like, it. I'm not interested in just like seeing random bullshit. Like, oh, we're this happens to Emilia now, I guess. And then for 15 minutes, we kind of talk about that, but not really. Like, there's nothing that you actually delve into as in like a story in this movie. It's all just like now she starts an NGO, and now she's in love with a woman who we barely know, and then now she's kidnapped, and now she's dead. Like nothing is developed. It's just like, oh, I guess this happens now. Genuinely,
yeah.
like one of the
I
worst movies I've seen in a while.
Well, seriously, like we were mentioning this on off stream. Everyone is comparing this Oscar season to 2004 when Crash won Best Picture, and like it's funny we talked about the '96 Crash.
Yeah.
There's a 2004 film called Crash, and it's often cited as like one of the worst Best Picture wins. Like there were like, at the top of my head, Collateral came out in '04, and that like is an infinitely better film from what I understand. But it's one of those things where like that's the thing about Oscar wins as well. And that's what I was saying too. We all know this. Like the movies that are popular at the time or relevant at the time are what win, and not the movies that are
That's also
remembered, like
another thing
Nightcrawler.
that's funny, right? With in terms of like when the movies come out being so relevant because of like how few nominations there were for Dune Part 2, or like zero nominations for fucking Challengers, which is arguably the best movie of the year. It's insane. The way this kind of thing shit happens, like the movies that released
I
in
love
November get more.
Luca Guadagnino fucking walking out on the Golden Globes is so
Yeah.
face. It's like, you know what? I'm done. That's the
Yeah.
night.
Honestly based, man. I
Um,
mean, he deserves so much more.
but yeah, I need to see Queer. I still haven't seen Challengers. I'm like,
Yeah, I need to see
delivered
Queer.
two bangers from what I
Challengers
understand.
is amazing. It is not my favorite movie of the year, because this year was actually really good for movies. For a few movies, like I saw the TV Glow, probably up there. Dune Part 2, I think, is one of the best movies I've ever seen. The thing is like it is less important, I think, than like I saw the TV Glow, or has less to say than like Challengers. But I also think Dune Part 2 is like arguably one of the best movies I've ever seen, and that got like
Yeah.
so few
Well,
for fucking nominations. I swear to God.
well, it's a great blockbuster. That's the nice thing about Dune. It's a good example. It's always great when you get a movie like that. It's kind of like Top Gun Maverick, just a popular movie that is also like really well
Insanely
made and
good,
just
yeah.
draws people in.
Exactly.
But this is a bad movie.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you get an
Well,
Oscar
well, yeah,
win
because
or an
like
Oscar
people were
nomination. You're like, oh,
comparing this to like
for
Green
that?
Book, like, and Green Book is not like an
Yes.
awful
Yeah.
movie. It's fine.
But
It's
but it's not Best Picture. I
Well,
don't.
yeah, but then you
2018
compare
was
to Emilia Pérez. Like Green Book is a masterpiece compared to Emilia Pérez. It's like an
not.
actual
I
movie, you know?
I can remember scenes. Like I only watched that movie once, and I still remember the scene where they're throwing chicken bones out of the like the guy
Yeah,
hasn't like just eating fried chicken is such a foreign concept. And then when he litters and like throws the cup out, he asks him to stop the car and go back. Like the yeah, Green Book is a film, and like it probably should not have won Best Picture,
oh
but
no,
like
definitely not. But
there
it is
there's
a
something
film.
there in good performances,
Yeah.
and this is not one of those. This is a bad movie that is just that barely has anything to say, and somehow it just had the fucking cheat codes because it's got all the Oscars, and I've not seen people that unironically like this movie. Like critics, I'm curious what people that like it cling to, what it is that they think makes it good, because
From what I've
I
seen, because I
cannot
was
see it.
looking at letterbox reviews, and there were very few, but there were some positive reviews. It seems that people are just like, man, it's such a bold movie. It is so creative and bold. Bold is the word that I've sought the most. It takes a wild swing, and sometimes it misses, but that's fine. Like that was
Well, it's
basically the
the
idea.
again, I can only compare this movie to Joker Folie à so many times, but it's like it's the exact same thing. All the sets and all the interesting music and all the production values can't replace character. It
Yeah.
can't replace
And
story, and
honestly, I'm sorry, but this movie does not look good. Joker Folia Dude looks good.
it's a better movie, straight up. I need to rewatch that movie. I really do, but I there's way more to cling to in that movie than there is in this.
Yeah.
But they're cut from the same cloth, in my opinion. Just bland, really hollow musicals that probably shouldn't have been musicals, and even if they weren't, they probably wouldn't even been a good
Yeah.
movie. That's my take on Emilia Perez. Shouldn't have been a musical, and even
It
if it
shouldn't have been
was, it'd be
a
dog shit
movie
anyway.
in the first place. That's the issue.
That that too.
Yeah. Hey, and so
So
if you want to watch a good movie about transness, watch I Saw the TV Glow, please, and thank you.
yeah, it's so funny. Like I don't independent movies like that usually don't get a lot of. Again,
Yeah.
I think After Sun got a little bit of Oscar attention, at least for Paul Mescal. Is like more performance based,
Yeah.
but I still haven't seen that. But everyone has told me that that is a really like it's one of those movies that sticks with you and that you can't
Yeah.
get out of your head. And
I spent 2 days
I need to
depressed
see
after
it.
watching that movie. It stuck with me.
It's so funny. My brother, he compared it to the Banshees of Inisherin. I remember watching that in
Interesting
theaters, and
comparison.
well, the thing about the Banshees of Inisherin is it's like a straight tragedy.
Yeah.
I've always like compared it to Shakespeare. It's just like it's a movie that does not have a happy ending. The ending note is like these guys are probably going to kill each other. This feud is just going to keep going on. It's just going to keep getting worse. It's like Jesus, and I remember like it took a while to process that. I'm like, it's been a while since I've seen a movie that like bereft of hope. It just kind of like just dour and tragic. I'm like, damn. But I've heard I Saw the TV Glow is similar to that. It just
Yeah.
it leaves you with something that really makes you think and where you have a different experience than normal.
Yeah. Ah, it was such a beautiful movie. I love it.
So would you recommend Emilia Perez, Skye?
Oh wow. You know what? I've got a hot take, but no, I do not recommend Emilia Pérez. Fucking, I was just, cause I was looking at this before we started the recording. I was just like, it got a lot of nominations. Let me see what the nominations are. And there's like
Well,
there's actress, which is like, Zoe Saldana is fine. She's good in this movie. It's just like, she does not deserve an Oscar for it, but she's good.
no.
Then there's cinematography, where it's like, this movie looks bad. It just does not look good.
It's not.
It's because I've not seen The Brutalist or Maria, but like Nosferatu and Dune Part 2 are nominated alongside it. It's just like, imagine comparing fucking Greg Fraser to this bullshit from Emilia.
Dune is incredible, and Greg Fraser is like one of the better like up and coming cinematographers right now. Like,
and Nosferatu as well. That movie looks beautiful.
Yeah, I rewatched that recently, and my God, yeah, it's such a unique aesthetic to that movie. Like the cinematography is so purposeful, and this movie, like it looks elaborate. I will say they do make like use of a lot of extras that like make shots kind of interesting.
It looks like a Netflix movie though. Like it looks cheap. Like it looks an expensive cheap movie. You know what I mean? Like it looks like it wants to be expensive, but it's actually just a Netflix movie.
Well, that's the thing about a lot of Netflix movies in general. They often feel that way. I always call it like glossiness, like just movies that look
exactly.
fake
This movie looks glossy. That's part of the issue as well. And it's like there's so many different places where this movie goes, like literally like places in the world. Like in Mexico, and there's like in London, there's Bangkok, there's Tel Aviv, like so many different places, and it all looks the same. They don't do anything interesting with like the visuals of it.
Yeah.
And then another another nomination is directing, which is so funny because neither Challengers nor Dune Part 2 were nominated for Best Directing, which is just, it's amazing.
Oh, God. Wait, what? What was? Surely the director for
So
The
directing was
Brutalist.
Honora, Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Emilia Pérez, and The Substance.
Huh.
No Challengers is insane. It's absurd.
From what I've seen of those tennis sequences, yeah, goddamn, like
Yeah, and Dune Part 2
would need
speaks
to
for
see.
itself as well. It's just...
Yeah, Denis Villeneuve. I wish that he was more. I don't know why that guy like hasn't proven himself enough for the Oscars.
Yeah, the
Like, come
Academy
on,
just,
dude.
he's too good for the
He's
Oscars, I guess.
Well, seriously, he is one of people are always talking about that who are going to be like the iconic, recognizable actors, like or directors moving forward. I'm like, I think him
Villeneuve, yeah.
and even Matt Reeves might be
Yeah.
seen as those. Like Matt Reeves, I'd say a little bit less so, but my God,
Matt
he's
Reeves
just
is a
delivered pretty
little
much
bit less
banger
of an
after banger.
auteur.
Yeah, but still, I love what he's done. Have you
Yeah.
seen Let Me In?
I haven't, no.
Ah, interesting. I still I need to see Let the Right One, and it would be an interesting. I've heard it's better, and you know it is just a classic example of a American remake, but
Yeah. And then another one of the nominations was for film editing for Emilia Paris. This movie is so badly edited. This is literally the same thing as fucking Bohemian Rhapsody, right? With the like, it has the most editing. It has so many cuts and everything.
yes,
You're just
it's
like, that's why this one nominated.
that's exactly what it is. Like, look at how crazy everything is. Look at how fast the
Yeah.
movie moves. Like, I sometimes the best edits are the ones where you don't edit. You know, they're like like so the editing in My Dinner with Andre is good,
Yeah.
and it's so there's barely any of it, and it's like editing is complicated. It's not just the cuts. I mean, like the structure of a movie usually falls on the editing choices, and the structure of this movie is a
It's a
fucking
mess.
nightmare.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then there's obviously international feature. Uh,
production design is that
Makeup, no, but makeup and hairstyling. Yeah.
that I can
I
see that, you
guess.
know.
I
Okay.
guess it's, yeah. It's probably the
Well,
only one where it's just like, it's
Well, I
not the
mean,
worst.
pre-transition Emilia, from what I understand, that actually is like just makeup. I think they did
Yeah.
a pretty fucking banger job.
Yeah.
I mean, that pre-transition Emilia isn't in much of the movie, but like I but again, Oscar, like I don't know. I just none of this movie screams Oscar. All of it
Yeah.
screams Netflix.
Yeah. And then on your original score, I don't
What?
remember the score from this movie.
Nothing. It was that bland. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, for
This
original score. No Dune Part 2. No
well,
challengers, by the way. Oh my god, I'm gonna... Whatever.
oh God, didn't Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross do that one?
Yes,
Oh,
and it's the... undisputably, the best soundtrack of the year is the Challengers soundtrack. It is brilliant. It is brilliant. Then there's original song, El Mal. I don't remember which song this was, which speaks volumes. And another one, Mi Camino. Okay, so there's two Emilia
Wait, it got
Paris songs.
two?
Two of them.
Oh, what? Is Mika Mika the opening number? I will say like boldness, quote unquote. The whole how they presented that was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
I
But
don't...
the song itself
I don't
wasn't that
remember
good.
any of the songs. I watched this movie this morning. I don't remember.
Me, me neither. Why are we bothering? It's like, which song was it? I don't care. They're all bad.
Yeah. And then obviously Best Picture. And and Sound. It was nominated for Sound.
Please tell me Dune was.
Dune was, thankfully.
Okay, and it'll win, but I
Hopefully.
always do love that too when a movie just gets like an Oscar sweep and they give it categories where it's like,
What are you talking?
really?
Like that category?
It's like, come on, man. Like, this is a good movie, but that was not a standout. It's just, and this is what's so funny. It's just so many nominations and just so little of them.
Yeah.
Like production design and makeup are the one things in this movie where I'm like, okay, maybe you could give this an Oscar, but my God, it's like giving that. It's like that Suicide Squad won an Oscar for best makeup.
Oh yeah,
like, what
Academy
does it matter
Award
when,
winning
like,
Suicide Squad. That is a fun thing to think about.
Oh my God.
And then obviously writing adapted screenplay, which is fucking hilarious because I'm Still Here was not nominated for best adapted screenplay.
What else was? I'm
A
actually
Complete
curious. I mean,
Unknown, Conclave, Emilia Pérez, Nico Boys, and Sing Sing. Not Dune, no.
Sing Sing, I gotta check out. I mean, it is a sequel, and I don't know.
I've heard Sing Sing is good.
Dune was always going to be nominated more for its like production values than its writing quality, which is kind of dumb because I actually think it's really well written. And
yeah, it is, but it's whatever. They have something against Dune. It's whatever.
And then they have something against Villeneuve. Well, I don't get it.
Yeah. Then yeah, so that was the last category. So we went through the nominations because I was just looking at these earlier. I was like, there's no way. Like sound, best sound. Because this movie, I don't know if you noticed, but the mixing is not good. The many moments are just like, what are they saying? Because like, you know, I understand a little Spanish because I speak Portuguese. I was just like, well, thank God for subtitles, right? Because I didn't hear what she said. Or even just like the sound editing in general. Like a lot of the time, the dialogue was not matching up with their like voice, the character's mouth movement. Like especially Emilia. I don't know if they had to record a lot of her dialogue in ADR, but it did not match up with her mouth at all. Like when Zoe Saldana spoke, it was fine, but not when Emilia spoke. It was weird.
Yeah, and some of the sound effect. Like my thing is, I always think sound mixing and sound editing should go to movies that have standout sound. Like one of the perfect examples of that is Ford v Ferrari.
Oh yeah,
that movie has exceptional sound with the uses of the engines, and like it's an important part of the story.
Yeah,
like sound isn't really important in this movie, and I'm just like, you should give that to the categories that deserve it, or like the movies that are extraordinary for that.
Yeah,
and Dune's an example of that. Unique sound effects, unique world, unique.
I mean, yeah, Dune Part 2
setting.
should win that category. Like, hopefully,
it probably will. It's so funny. It's like the one thing that like those blockbustery films get for Oscars.
Yeah,
like,
that and
you know what?
effects.
You looked and sounded good, but the writing and direction is like, you're too popular. Fuck you.
Yeah. Weird.
Well,
so after all that,
this has been an interesting episode.
Yeah. That was like the pure love I have for I'm Still Here, and the pure hatred I have for Emilia Pérez. Oh
man.
But yeah, I think that's it for today, folks. I think we've covered well enough both movies. You should watch one of them, and it's not the French movie.
No, it is not. My God, it's good. Give Fernanda Torres that Oscar.
Hopefully, yeah. And all right, well, it is your turn to do a recommendation.
It is indeed. I was just checking. There was one that I was thinking of because I have a list. But we haven't done. I mean, like, I'm Still Here technically counts because it's in theaters, but we haven't done a lot of movies that are like showing in theaters now. And like the last one that like was a standout was Smile 2, which was a funny theater experience for me. But there's one that I loved the teaser trailer for, and it's in theaters now. Companion.
Ooh,
I'm
not
about
actually.
that movie,
I think it's. Hold on. Which day is it? Oh, it's the
Oh
4th.
god
Okay,
damn
no,
it.
no, no. It's out on the 6th, so I should be able to watch it. I completely
Dodge the
forgot
bullet.
which
Okay.
day it was. I thought it was still January. No, it's fine. I will be able to watch it.
Glorious. I haven't looked into it all that much, honestly. I loved the teaser. I didn't love
I
the
like
theatrical
everything I've
trailer,
seen about it. Kind of. I really, really, really like Sophie Thatcher, and Jack Quaid
Jack Quaid.
is like a really charismatic actor, and I've heard the chemistry of the two is like really, really good. So I'm curious for that.
Yeah. Most of it seems pretty like warm reception.
Yeah,
I'm
I've seen
I'm
people
just curious.
really, really enjoyed this movie. So yeah,
Yeah. That's what I'm going for. I'm going for companions, so
good one. Yeah. All right. Well, then that's it, folks. Thank you for watching. Um, watch I'm Still Here. Do not watch Emilia Paris, or if you do, pirate it. Do not support this movie. Um,
yeah, don't get Netflix just to watch Emilia Perez.
yeah.
My God.
And yeah, we'll catch you next week with the companion.
Catch you next week, folks.
Yeah, see ya.